Hey, welcome to the Cup of Joe with
Anna and Sheila. Usually I do this. I thought we're trying a new intro. So
and it ended, and you didn't
Erin told us just to hold still. So that's what I was doing. I was waiting for her to give me the cue. I didn't know what kind of new thing she was putting.
She's confused.
Well, she likes
confused.
she is so disorganized and just doesn't know. I don't know what to expect from her.
Somebody needs to give her like an OCD pill or something.
I guess. So anyway, we have a new intro because we're fabulous and so professional now. That was sarcasm because we're not professionals. This is Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila. Like, follow, share.
Yes,
Cup of Joe on the Book of Face.
Yep.
Cup of Joe
on YouTube.
Wait, what's the whole tagline for Facebook?
It's on there.
Oh, okay. Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila. The Twitter,
Facebook,
and we already said Facebook,
Instagram,
and Instagram,
and yeah, YouTube,
and
I almost said Yahoo.
What's okay? Now we know you're old, Sheila.
Thank you.
Say Yahoo. Yahoo
Memorex.
was Memorex. Oh my gosh! But Yahoo was just divested of. We're serious now, Sheila. Of Verizon.
I'm sorry, I have Obi. Because not Obi. I have Snoop Dogg here.
Snoop Dogg, because Verizon and whole digital media, it's not going anywhere. Which is another topic. Like, why isn't digital media working? Many people are tired of being digital.
Oh, maybe because all the Republicans left, and now there's like a void where everybody else is, and people can actually hear each other talk about good ideas, solid ideas.
So you're saying that Republicans don't like digital media?
No, they like it, but only when they can trash everybody else.
True. So. Yep. Anyway,
but in Florida, the only people that can, who don't get fined $25,000 a day for taking people off digital media is Disney. Because I think, didn't they give the governor, Erin, was it $100,000 for his campaign, or was it $300,000 for his campaign?
I think that was Publix.
The Publix gave $300, so Disney must have only given $100, because they're cheap sons of guns.
Ooh, I like that term, sons of guns. I haven't heard that since I think Romper Room. Yeah, I see Sheila and Erin and Publix. Romper Room. Do you remember?
You know what? My hips are newer than yours.
That is true. Your hips are new. Your hips are going to be newer.
Yes.
Mine are newer than yours right now.
Yeah,
but when you get your new hips, you're going to have newer hips.
I'm going to be bionic. I requested the Bluetooth and GPS enabled hip joint.
Oh, you know what? Maybe they could insert those on mine, and we could always be connected. And so if if we also attach it to our
phone.
Well, here, if you're not answering my text, I could just send you a little jolt. Say like, answer my text, damn it.
All right.
And then if you're talking too much, or you're saying something that's inappropriate, which I don't know, that's not like you at all. I'm just go like ding 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 like this. Like, stop talking, Sheila. You're gonna get us in trouble again.
Anyway, we
digress. I don't want to be arrested again.
We don't want to go to Facebook jail.
Well, yes. And then remember when I almost got arrested with Harry Cohen's mother?
Oh my God, that was hilarious. We could have used a lawyer.
We should have used a lawyer. And speaking of lawyers,
we have a fabulous lawyer here with us today.
Oh, isn't that a professional segue, Erin?
I know, we're so professional.
With the intro and just like the way that we can just smoothly discuss into different
topics. As opposed
topics.
to the segues that we drive, we segue into this.
Anyway,
we're going to add Pam Keith to our, we're going to get a segue. We're going to add Pam Keith to our stream.
Pam Keith.
Pam was a member or a candidate for Congress on the other side, Florida's 18th congressional district.
Wait. We need to clarify. Other side meaning
of
not
the coast of the state.
I know, but not other side meaning the red side.
No,
that's an important point. Although we welcome all sorts of political.
We tried to get Mike Beltran on. He just won't show.
Many times, and we had a couple for State Attorney General. What was his name? I loved him, by the way.
Mike Friday. We had a Republican on.
We did.
I think they're afraid of us.
Well, they do have a little bit of sense, or they're just scared.
But we have probably one of my favorite Twitter people that I follow, Pam Keith. I just love reading your tweets. You and the Brooklyn Dad Defiant make my day. And then
we tweet each other all the time.
Oh my God, it's so much fun to just read you guys on Twitter. And you also, after you finished your campaign, started an advocacy group. So we're going to talk to you about everything today.
Yes. So much to talk about.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So
tell us about your group, Fight for Florida Future, which, you know what, we haven't talked about our little tagline, Flip Florida Blue in 2022.
I love it. And that is the mission and purpose of Fight for Florida's Future. So after the election, and we're all kind of busy licking our wounds here in Florida, but there was work to be done in Georgia. So I decided to pour my energies into helping flip Georgia's 2 Senate seats. And one of the things that I was working on was helping the administration and the Dem team embrace a narrative about giving people $2,000, making it really transactional and about the money, because that's the kind of thing that can be communicated easily to people who have to get like in a minute to go vote, right? So that actually worked. I took my butt up to Savannah and spent a few days up there GOTV, but also just really pushing the narrative about the stimulus payment. And a lot of pundits thought that was the thing that surged the Dem vote, and turned out at the very end that got us across the line. So, but while I was in Georgia, I was obviously observing all of the handiwork of Stacey Abrams and Faye, who did the work on the ground to register voters and get them prepared to vote. And not only did it turn Georgia blue for Joe Biden, but it delivered 2 Senate seats. Not without help from outside, but at least they had the material to work with, which was registered people.
But she had started that a long time before.
She started that a long time ago. But the important takeaways for me are that she started that parallel to the Georgia Democratic Party, not underneath it, not against it, but kind of doing its own thing. The other thing is that organization was entirely focused on registering the kind of people who were going to vote Democrat, because she didn't really have a whole lot of time to convert people who were already deep in the Fox News wormhole. So she focused on the African American community, and what I took away from that is that those are natural Democrats. In our state, we have people who are natural Democrats by life circumstance, by education, or whatever. And those are the people that we want to get to. We don't want to just go out and organize. We want to incentivize and connect to the people whose life is made better by our policy, because that's whoops. Oh, sorry about that.
It's Stacey calling.
No, it's something that I got to do, that I always do when I do these Zoom things, is to all right. I am so sorry about that.
Turn off your phone. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, you know what? Sheila always has to find your phone that goes on all the time, because she just gets lost and has no idea where she is. I'm not joking. We've had that happen. Sheila's find my phone thing comes on, and I'm like, Sheila, you are here.
Right. I apologize. I usually remember to shut that thing off. Anyway, so I came to this understanding that, it is a massive disadvantage in all southern states that Fox News dominates so much down here, that it is 24/7, 365 GOP messaging. It's not right-leaning news. It is an extension of the RNC, and it drives the narrative of the RNC. MSNBC is not an extension of the DNC. It doesn't spend all of its time explaining why we should have a $15 minimum wage, right? It reports that there's a debate about it, but it doesn't literally advocate for it in the way that Fox News advocates and puts in the minds of its viewers the way they should believe, right? So that's understanding that impact that they have. You got to go to the people who are not necessarily going to be inclined to buy that stuff. And that's African Americans, that's women, that's young people, that's immigrants, that's people with disabilities, that's the LGBTQ community. And it's people who are poor, people who are struggling on the margins, people who are desperate for living wages. Those are our people, right? But if you look at the universe of people who are not voting, a far bigger percentage of them fit into those categories and that's really where the fruit for our work begins. How do we get to these people, and why aren't they voting? That's the bigger question. And I came to a conclusion about that, having been a candidate myself, which is we put way too much of the work on convincing those people to vote, or to vote for anybody, on candidate campaigns, because candidate campaigns pop up, at a certain point in the cycle, and may or may not have either the money or the skill to actually communicate with people. And so our attitude as Democrats in the state has always been passive. We hope we get good candidates, and we hope they raise enough money, and we hope they mess well. But if they don't, we accept losing, right? That is not the attitude of Florida Republicans. Florida Republicans, it is the Florida Republican Party that is responsible for winning seats in Florida. The candidates just need to show up and be loyal. The party does the work. And because it doesn't accept losing anywhere, to them, a bad candidate is their fault. A bad race is their fault. So they make sure that they're the ones communicating with right-leaning voters, and they do it year-round. They don't wait till election cycle to do it, right? They also do it with much, much more sophisticated data and targeting information than we do. But the biggest shift that we have to make is the shift that somehow you only get to be an elected official if you're really great at everything and you're magnificent and you're great at social media and you never say anything wrong and you don't take any wrong positions or whatever, because we need you to be magical to put you in office. Whereas they can be Lauren Boebert, right? They can be Marjorie Taylor Greene and they get into office. Why? Because they're the nominee and they want the seat. That's why, right? We don't covet seats like that, right? We want affinity with the person running. Now, I'm not suggesting that means that we should have bad candidates. But what I'm suggesting is that we need a shift in our attitude. Our attitude ought to be, we want every seat in the state of Florida under Dem control and fight for every single one. And if the candidate doesn't have the bandwidth, the wherewithal, the talent, or whatever, then something should step in to help them, not sit back and watch them flounder. That's where we've been all kind of wrong. We have had a party hyper-focused on a handful of battleground states or seats and not the least bit interested in investing in parts of Florida like where you live. But there is so much gold to be mined in these other parts of the state. The reason it's not being mined is because we're not giving anybody the tools to do so.
So how do we get there?
So step number one is Fight for Florida's Future is about standing up a separate entity, and it is a permanent entity. It is an entity that is apart from the party but collaborative with the party, right? And the point of Fight for Florida is to hire permanent, professional, paid staff that is physically resident across the state in our regional offices, 21 that we serve across the state, that become experts on the geography that they live in and come from that community, but also help to shape programs that directly target and engage the kind of people who will vote Democratic if they vote at all, right? So we're combining geographic presence with programmatic intention. No more random organizing, no more random door knocking, right? And make these operations year-round. Move away from a transactional model of campaigning into an investment and community service model of campaigning, where we invest in the community by being value add to people's lives all the time. Be it at your fish fry, your church revival, your 5K, your charitable event, your county fair. We don't see Democrats in red parts of the state. Why? Because what's the incentive for a person that lives in, Madison County to wear a shirt that says they're a Democrat? They're just going to get looked at twice. But if they have a whole group of people with them and it's organized and they have billboards there and they have a truck that's wrapped in Democratic messaging and you see it all the time, then all of a sudden that sense of community around being a Democrat and Democratic values now becomes real. And it comes
and Pam, it's scary, right? Because we're in red area for sure, right? And the reason that we're keeping this going is because we need the companionship, we need the fellowship to keep going. I mean, it is very difficult to be in that kind of environment.
I know it. Anna, Sheila, I when I first ran for office, I ran for U.S. Senate in our state. I went through all of the state. I went to all of the red areas because that's where the other candidates were not going. I figured, let me go where they don't go. And so I put 117,000 miles on my car, traveling to all of the hinterlands and small pockets. And one of the most common comments I heard is, when I had a town hall or an event was, oh, I had no idea there were this many Democrats in my area.
Exactly.
So whose fault is that?
I know.
It's the parties, I think, but it's ours too for hiding. You know, I didn't
help to come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need an environment and an event, and you need, you know, safety in numbers, and you need guidance, and you need program staff. So the programmatic side of Fight for Florida's Future targets 12 right now, but that can expand, constituencies that we think need to be invested in and developed. And that means that they're going to be working on that year round. They're going to become experts in those communities. Those communities include the African American community. We have about 900,000 Black people in the state of Florida who are of age and not registered to vote. We can really make a dent in that number. We have 1.2 million teenagers who weren't eligible in 2020, but will be eligible in 2022. They cut plus 35 Democrat. They're 35 points more D than R. We need to have a thoughtful, intentional, and strategic process to register them and get them voting Democrat. We have 280,000 migrant workers. They're not necessarily South Florida Cubans, but they're Latino. For the most part, they're and some are Haitian, but most are Hispanic, and most would align with our values because we're the only ones working to give their children status, and we're the ones that are making sure that they're not getting deported and treated and marginalized like they're criminals. Well, guess what? Do we have any program that actually targets migrant workers and helps them gain their citizenship and helps them vote? We have something like 300,000 snowbirds who come to our state every year. They own property here. They are usually certainly on the east coast of our state. They come from Connecticut. They come from Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, New Jersey. These are heavy blue districts, heavy blue counties. They come here and then they go back home and they vote. And elections that their vote may not swing, but if they voted here, their votes would swing it, right? Have we ever had a thoughtful, intentional, and strategic process to court snowbirds to register to vote in Florida? We don't even try, right? So what I'm saying is, if we want to win elections, we need to strategize every component of competing and be expert and professional in every component of competing, right? We focus hyper on GOTV. GOTV is step 3. Step 1 is think like a Democrat. Step 2 is register and be prepared to vote. And step 3 is vote. We ignore step 1. We ignore think like a Democrat. Because half the time, nobody sees Democrats. Nobody understands that they're there. They don't know what they're doing for them. We do not brag enough, and we sure don't blame enough. And so we have both a connection and a message, right? So what Fight for Florida's Future does is it galvanizes the resources to be able to land punches on Republicans year round, to be messaging to our base year round, and to close the data gap. As a candidate, y'all know, and I'm sure some of you, Sheila, Anna, if you've ever done any canvassing, you know what we canvass. We van, right? Voter roll information. The Republicans buy information from business aggregators, consumer aggregators, so they know whether their person they're talking to shops at Bass Pro Shops, right? They know whether that the income, the education level, the tax base of the real estate that they own, whether they have a car, a pet, right? That's the kind of information that can hyper target your messaging to make it ultimately effective. So if you knock a door, you're no longer asking if the person on the other side is a DR or independent. Now you're asking, because I know they own a boat, how concerned are they about red tides and not being able to fish it up? Now I'm making a contact and a connection that is actually meaningful, right? And tying those people to policy rather than to party.
So Pam, how can our viewers get involved? How can our viewers support your organization, support these great things that you're talking about?
First things first, call your member of Congress, call your representative and say, hey, call the Democratic Party and say, hey, we want you to support Pam Keith's plan. We want to participate in it. The way that we envision mobilizing the incredible energy and passionate, talented people out there is to give them volunteerism that is targeted, strategic, and part of a mission. So if you are a person who likes to postcard, we're not going to just randomly wait around for a candidate who needs postcarding. Remember, we've got all these people who are snowbirds. We can get you started on postcarding the snowbirds and postcarding to people who are retirees or thinking of relocating now. If you are a person who likes to engage, let's say you're of Haitian ancestry, we have a Haitian community program where all of your work will be in the Haitian community and you become expert on that community, not just at the level of there are Haitians, but this pastor and this pastor had a falling out, and so you can't have a joint event with them. You can do one with this one, but then you'd have to do something else with this one, or this, this group right here, they stay on the radio, so you need your ad on this radio. And here, let me tell you some words and phraseology that will capture their attention. Now you're the expert on Haitians in this part of Florida, or you're the expert on veterans. We do not have a single entity in the state of Florida on the Democratic side that communicates directly to veterans and military families. Why? Well, the GOP most certainly does. It actively goes after veterans. It asks them to run. It asks them to join their clubs, and they're constantly knocking on their door. They hear nothing from us. But if you are a veteran and you're interested in engaging veterans, we should have veterans town halls every month. We should have a veterans newsletter where we communicate with veterans all over the state. We ought to have forums and social parties and happy hours for veterans where we talk about the amazing things in the Democratic Party platform that make life better for veterans and military families. We don't do that, right? But if you want to volunteer and you're a veteran, then we'll put you to work in a program with a staffer, with resources, with materials, and with real, measurable, attainable goals, so that your time is not squandered. And we have now made you not only important and impactful, but a key component to the data that we receive, that we archive, that we grow, and that we use when campaign time comes around.
And Pam, you might want to have a nurses group.
Absolutely.
I'm going to plug in. When I worked for an unnamed national nurses organization, we estimated that 1 in 5 registered voters was also a registered nurse.
That's amazing. And I completely agree with you. But that's how you start to think programmatically. Once you get your mind away from DR and I and start focusing your mind on policy that connects to people's lives, you see all these opportunities. We should be talking to nurses. We should be talking to teachers. We should be talking to parents with kids with special needs. We should be talking to people who have a parent in assisted living or nursing care, and what Medicaid does for that, and why it's so important to protect that, right? I don't care if you're DR or I. I care that you understand that when you send a Democrat to the state house or to the state senate or to Congress, you are sending someone who's going to be working on policies that make your life better. That's what matters, right? And so that's why Fight for Florida's Future is so different. It has 3 major components. Component number 1 is programmatic, be of service and present in the community. Component number 2 is data and campaign services, meaning technical services. Why should we leave to candidates to find somebody to translate their information into Spanish or Creole? Why should we leave it to candidates to find a graphic designer to do their flyers or their leaflets? Why should we leave it to candidates to figure out social media? I mean, I'm sorry, but not everybody knows how to work great on TikTok and Twitch, right? But you can hire somebody that can guide candidates to do that, right? So it's a campaign services component. And then the third component is a messaging component, which really is about being really aggressive and landing punches on Republicans year-round and helping to get unified messaging across the state so that we start from the target for our campaigns. That's how we win. We win by being thoughtful and strategic about getting people thinking like Democrats and registering like Democrats and voting like Democrats, helping our candidates compete with less money, more effectively, and making sure that our messaging is consistent.
So it's interesting, Pam, we'll do a little self-plug here, but we target suburban white women. That's really who we target, right?
We have a program for you.
And those have statistically shown can flip elections.
Absolutely.
But Pam, here's my point. When I went to a couple of Democratic events and they actually saw me, it was kind of scary, knew who I was, they were thanking me and telling me what a great job and how courageous I am. I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys should have been you guys should have been setting this up yourselves. And what do you mean courageous? We don't know what we're doing, but we did it anyway. You know?
Exactly.
Power of that and the power that we can change. It's been on a daily with some of the different podcasts that are covered by New York Times. It's a huge market.
It is.
And you know what? It's a huge market that can be turned. We shouldn't be having to do this. We shouldn't have had the success that we did because we don't know what we're doing.
Well, I mean, but the reason it's successful is because it's authentic. And right. And so Stacey, if you look at Stacey Abrams' plan, a lot of what switched Florida was the migration of suburban women, white women, to the Democratic side. And that took work, that took engagement. Well, we put that in the plan. My plan, like I said, I identified 12 programs. One of those programs is persuadable, suburban, educated, or just, white women who are just not loving sort of what they're seeing in terms of women's rights, in terms of you and everything else.
We're closer to the schools. I don't want to get into the debate versus gender, but we are. We're closer to the schools. We see how these programs impact the children. We see how difficult it is for our kids to get into college and to really be independent nowadays.
Right.
So this is a huge market for you and the Democratic Party.
Anna, you hit it on the head. White women, just like Black women, just like Latina women, are the ones who take care of their kids and their parents. They're the ones that understand the economics of the household budget and how it is getting stretched to the breaking point with everything that's going up in cost, revenue, our income remaining somewhat stagnant, and the drains on our resources continuing to grow. So, of course, I want to talk to suburban white women about free education, college education for their kids. I want to talk to them about expanding Medicaid and increasing the benefit to get help for your parents that need to be in assisted living.
And how best to do that by using other suburban women.
Exactly. And that is the part about Fight for Florida's Future. We hire and we promote and we focus on enabling from within the community that we're trying to reach. Right? We're not going to.
I think you just offered us a job. You just offered us a job.
Absolutely. Look, I want you all to know that if you're the expert on this, then we want your expertise. That's the way we look at it. And if it is expertise, then it's valuable and it ought to be compensated that way. One of the funny things about our politics is that we compensate finance directors who tend to be white men, great, $8,000, $10,000 a month. And then we expect the Black folks and the Latinas and the people on the street to work for free because somehow the ability to actually move votes on the ground is less valuable than the ability to put on a suit and look like you know something about finance. We overemphasize consultants and we underemphasize community activists because we think somehow a degree from Duke and just makes you super, super special. But there's no proof they move a single vote. Right. Grandma on the corner who feeds everybody in the community is the one who gets the calls on election day as to who you should vote for. Grandma on the corner is the one who should be resourced and enabled to get out your message. Because they're going to believe her. Dookie with a nice suit is not who voters believe.
No, that is true. And when we saw that, when we did we were doing different campaigns for different people, just like you said, because that's all we could do. Really, that's all the expertise that we had. But we changed so many just by being there. Yep. So I think if this gets out and empowers other people to make change, then we can see it. And we are so powerful, suburban women. We just don't know it.
Absolutely. One of the things that I also learned from LaTosha Brown of Black Voters Matter is bringing joy into what you're doing changes everything. Instead of it being drudgery, instead of it being fearful, come at it from a position of party and joy and community working together to save democracy, right? To save the things that we love. So everything that we do should be done with the spirit of joy and community and having fun together. And that's why having a mothership that creates that environment is so important. We're the ones who
make sure it's a big difference.
Yeah, this is why we try to do this.
Exactly. And that's just it. What LaTosha did, you probably saw the video, right? We bring pizza. We bring the DJ. We're dancing in line. We're partying in line, right? That kind of spirit is the kind of spirit we want to bring to Fight for Florida's Future. It's not a spirit of fear. It's not a spirit of anger. It's a spirit of love, joy, and community, and building community on a regular and sustainable purpose. And everything that gets done on the data side gets archived and held onto, so that the next candidate that comes along is not starting from scratch. They're building from what the last candidate did.
Well, we have an open race here in our county commissioner. So if you know anybody who lives over by Fishhawk who wants to run, we'd be happy.
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of my other side hustles is that I am working on a project, fingers crossed, with No Dems Left Behind, where we're going to do a national run for that team, which is a national sort of coordinated effort to get people to run in ruby red seats and districts all over the country. Not so much with the eye to win, but the eye to protect democracy and to just land punches on Republicans. Like, just run, have fun. We'll give you resources and support. We'll give you the T-shirt. We'll have monthly jam parties where we talk about where we are and what we're doing. And you can be part of a national team and a national effort to make sure that not a single race in America has no Democrat in it. If we can do that, we will drain the GOP resources down everywhere. Some of our candidates will get through into positions that have never been held by Democrats. And the messaging will now have foot soldiers all over the country at every level, so that our messaging can be more impactful and potent.
Well, you're going to have to come back and talk to us about that then.
Well, that one's just in nascent stages. Fight for Future is way beyond nascent stages. We're already talking to donors, and really what makes it happen is for the donor class to decide they want to invest, because it does take money to pull something like this off. So you ask, what do you do? Hey, if you've got a member of the state house or the state senate that if you've got a representative, call Manny Diaz at the Florida Democratic Party. Call your member of Congress and say, hey, I just heard about Pam Keith's plan. I think it's a good idea. Can you support it? Because it's not, anytime you want to do something new in Florida, they're going to spend a lot of time kicking the tires and navel gazing as to whether it works or not. And it can frustrate me, I'll be honest, because on the one hand, by the end of June, a quarter of our cycle will be behind us. And there's just no question that we're currently doing a work.
Right.
So
Yes.
while you're trying to ascertain whether my plan will or will not work, are you cognizing that what you're currently doing is not working?
Right. How's that working for you right now? How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so that's kind of where we are. Our hope is to get this fully funded by the end of June, really hit the ground running. We are going to be putting brick and mortar offices across the state, so that there is always a community presence and a partner to every candidate that runs for office in that area, so that we now have that visibility and presence. My vision, ladies, is that by the end of 2022, you will see so much Democrat messaging across the state, it will rival what you saw before Trump in 2020.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we're so excited.
Fight for Florida Future.
Yes, follow, share.
Follow, share.
Absolutely. And you can find out more at info@fightforflorida.com. And or you can just go to fightforflorida.com online. Check out our website. You can give now. We do, obviously, we're looking at the institutional investment grade donors, but we also want to build an army of small dollar patrons that support at the $5 a month or $10 a month, and make that army a national army. Because the truth of the matter is, Florida can't win Florida. America needs to win Florida. And if we can bring America into the fold, there's nothing we can't do.
Amen.
Flip Florida Blue.
Flip Florida Blue in 2022.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, our teacher.
Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Sheila. I hope to stay in contact with you. If your viewers or listeners are interested in joining, like I said, they can always send an email. But I will be glad to come back on at some point and give you an update as to how things are going.
Oh, yes,
Great.
definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pam. Bye-bye.
Bye. Whew, I just feel like I should be doing something right now.
I know. I think I should be going out and harassing my neighbors. No.
No, but I like the fact that she said joy, because I'm like, Erin, see, this is why we try to make you laugh.
This is why we try to make you laugh, Erin.
So that people can
This is why we
to
know the
join
name
us.
of every bird, Erin.
Oh, anyway. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And we'll see you next time. To Ruth.